I wanted to do a quick video today and just recommend two books that I think that every victim of narcissistic abuse should read, okay? And they're probably not going to be the books that you expect me to suggest. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michele, and I help people heal emotional wounds and break through subconscious programming. So if those are topics that you like to learn about, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, since I put up videos weekly and you'll be notified of them. So what are the books that I recommend for 2020? I'm only going to recommend two in this video. There are a ton of awesome books on the topic, and I have probably 10 to 15 of them. But I wanted to suggest two that aren't books that you would think would be helpful for victims of emotional abuse, of emotional trauma. But they were really game changers for me, and I wanted to share them with you, okay? So the first book is for people that have children with a narcissist, okay? Whether you're still in the relationship or you are co-parenting, or I should say counter-parenting with a narcissist, this book is amazing, okay? It's called The Conscious Parent. And no, it's not about narcissistic abuse, but it is about parents who have emotional wounds or unhealed, unresolved wounds, and how it affects your parenting. I came across this book because in my face-to-face coaching practice, I would get a lot of parents coming to me asking for help in how to help their children. They were suffering from the effects of narcissistic abuse, and their children were suffering the effects of narcissistic abuse, and they were triggering each other. In fact, I had one woman, she wanted to have coaching with me twice a week. And on top of that, I was meeting with her 18-year-old child, trying to help them both to heal what they had gone through without triggering each other. When I recommended this book to her, she was like, "Michele, I got everything I need. This is exactly what I needed." It really does help you to look at yourself. As parents, right, if we've been through emotional manipulation or narcissistic abuse, if we were raised by narcissistic parents, we have things inside of us that need to get healed. And sometimes we don't realize that. Sometimes we see things in our child. Sometimes we see ourselves, our unhealed wounds in our child, and we're really focused on helping our child, and it doesn't work. Well, this book helps you to put the focus on you, put the mask on you, so to speak, like when the airplane's going down, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first so that you can help your child. And I want to share with you a piece of that publication, just something to kind of give you a preview of the publication. Okay, so this is taken from The Conscious Parent, Transforming Ourselves, Empowering Our Children. There's one subtitle that says, "You will only accept your child to the degree that you accept yourself." Accepting our children for who they are brings with it another component, accepting the kind of parent that we need to be for a particular child. Our ability to accept our children is directly linked to our ability to accept ourselves, both as we are presently and for what we have the potential to become. After all, how can we hope to raise our children to be free thinkers and free-spirited if we aren't these things ourselves? How can we raise independent, autonomous children if we ourselves aren't independent and autonomous? How can we raise another human being, another spirit, if our own being has been largely dismissed, our spirit systematically squelched? Last point I want to share, it says on the next page, when we are unable to accept our children, it's because they open up old wounds in us, threatening some ego attachment we are still holding on to. Unless we address why we can't embrace our children for precisely who they are, we will forever either seek to mold, control, and dominate them, or we will allow ourselves to be dominated by them. It's essential to realize that any barrier we experience when it comes to fully accepting our children originates in our past conditioning. A parent who is unable to accept their own being in all its glory will never be able to accept their children. Only to the degree that we honor ourselves will we honor our children. So again, the focus is on ourselves. The focus is healing our wounds, because if we don't, they will show up in the relationship we have with our children, especially as our children get older and become teenagers or young adults. Okay, so this is an amazing publication to break through unconscious parenting so that you can parent in a way that is empowering yourself and your children as well. So that publication to me helped me to be a stronger, more empowered parent, because it taught me how to have strong boundaries. I didn't have strong boundaries with my children because of old wounds in me. So that's just a tiny little area that it helped me with. But the more I healed, and that book helped me to see things that I needed to heal with myself, the better the relationship I had with my children and the better parent I was with my children. So I really hope if anyone has kids, especially if you're parenting with a narcissist or toxic individual or co-parenting, I really feel this book is really valuable. Okay, the next publication that I want to suggest, again, has nothing to do with narcissistic abuse, and yet I feel that anyone that reads it that has been through narcissistic abuse can benefit a lot. Before I give the title, I know you guys are probably familiar with it, but before I give the title, I want to just tell you why I think that this publication is so valuable. Okay, so if you've been with a narcissist or a toxic person, whether it's a parent, whether it's a boss, a coworker, or a family member, or a significant other, narcissists train you to be stuck in your mind. You live your life stuck in your mind, whether it's a fantasy world, whether it's ruminating about the past, right? Trying to figure out what in the world happened, or feeling anxious about the future. You are stuck up in your mind, and you have an inability to be present in your body or in the moment. Okay, you're either stuck in the past, ruminating, anxiety in the future, and you're always thinking, trying to figure things out. Okay, sometimes we think thinking is living. So I don't know, maybe some of you know what direction I'm going in right about now, but the book that I feel really helped me to break out of the prison. It was almost like an internal prison in your mind. But the book that helped me is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And I just want to share with you one tiny piece of that to help you to see why I feel people that are victims of narcissistic abuse could benefit from this publication. So I wish I had a hard copy, but I was living in Mexico for 2 years, completely off the grid, had no mailbox, and everything got downloaded onto my iPad. So I'm going to share with you just a piece of that publication under the subtitle, "And the Delusion of Time." He says, "To be identified with your mind is to be trapped in time, the compulsion to live almost exclusively through memory and anticipation. This creates an endless preoccupation with past and future, and an unwillingness to honor and acknowledge the present moment and allow it to be. The compulsion arises because the past gives you an identity, and the future holds the promise of fulfillment in whatever form." And then somebody sends in a question, "But time is precious. Because of my past, it makes me who I am today. And I think time is something very precious. We need to learn to use it wisely and not waste it." So he responds, "What you perceive as precious is not time, but the one point that is out of time, the now. That is precious indeed. The more you are focused on time, past and future, the more you miss the now, the most precious thing there is." Okay, so what I liked about that point was the fact that he talks about people that are stuck, their mind is stuck in the past, or it's waiting and looking forward to the future, and it's never living in the moment, which is exactly what happens if you've been in a relationship with a toxic person. And it is a waste, because years go by and you're not really living. You're trying to figure things out. You're up in your mind. You're not experiencing joy. You're not living in the moment. You're stuck in your internal prison of your mind. At least that's how I felt for a very long period of time. And this book explains how to break free from that. It also talks about the pain body, which all of us have as a result of past trauma, but it helps us to stop living through it. Okay, it helps us to realize and learn how to leave past pain in the past so that it doesn't enter our present and ruin our future. Okay, it also talks about the ego and how ego is also caught up in time, and it's also caught up in what happened in the past or what will happen in the future. But all of those things keep us from enjoying the moment. So because I know that living in the moment is a challenge for victims of narcissistic abuse, that's why I challenge you to read this publication. By reading publications like this, we aren't just putting our focus on the narcissist, on how they are and on who they are and why they do what they do and how they do what they do, but we're putting the focus on solutions. We're looking at what we can do to undo the damage that was done to us because of a toxic relationship. That's when real change happens. That's when our lives shift. Okay, so those are two publications that I feel changed my life, that I highly recommend for others, but I would love to hear what publications you found to be super helpful on your healing journey. So make sure you comment below and let me know what you're reading or what you've read and what you plan to read in the year to come.